Welcome back to another fun-filled video of Fun with Math. Here we're going to look at how to graph using the slope and the y-intercept. Well, the first thing we need to know about that is we need to know our form. This form here, y equals mx plus b, is your slope-intercept form. A couple things you need to know in this. M represents your slope and b represents your y-intercept. Now, in order for something to actually be an intercept, it must be in the form 0, y. In other words, if you were to just simply write b equals 3, you would be incorrect. In order to properly identify an intercept point, you have to do just that. You have to identify the intercept point. Okay? So the steps that you want to use in order to graph is that first you need to make sure that you rearrange or solve your equation for y, thus putting it into slope-intercept form. Then you need to identify the slope and your intercept point. You want to graph your intercept point first and then use your slope to find a secondary point and then connect the dots. So here I have 3x minus 6 equals negative 12. So the first thing I have to do is rearrange it so that I have y equals. So I've got 3x minus the 6y equals negative 12. I'm going to take my 3x and I'm going to move it. Because it's positive, to move it says that I have to subtract. Therefore, negative 6y is equal to a negative 3x minus 12. I then have to divide everything by negative 6. So y equals negative 3 over negative 6x minus 12 over a negative 6 and reduce my fractions. So y is equal to negative over negative is positive. 3 over 6 is 1/2 x. Negative over negative is positive. 12 over 6 is 2. So, the first thing we have to do after we rearrange is we need to identify our pieces. I have my slope and I have my intercept. My slope is the coefficient attached to the x value, so it would be 1/2. My intercept is going to be the b term, but it is the coordinate point. So this is the point 0, 2. Once you identify your two pieces, you're then going to come into your coordinate graph and you're going to go ahead and graph it. You're going to start with your b. So I'm going to start at the point 0, 2 and draw my point. I am then going to use my slope. Now what you need to remember again is that the top is going to be your rise and the denominator is going to be your run. Rise is talking about your y movement, whereas run is talking about the x movement. So in this case, starting from my point, I'm going to rise 1, so I'm going to come up to here, and then I have to run twice, so once, twice, and here is my secondary point. Okay, so again, we did a rise movement once, and then we had to do 2 runs, rise over run. Now you want to just connect your dots. So here I'm going to go ahead and use a ruler. Of course you wouldn't have to, but you just essentially need to connect your dots to the best way possible. And remember, you need to draw your arrows so that you can definitely see that they are going in the right direction. Okay? Pretty simple. So let's look at another one. So here I have x plus 4y equals 20. So again, I have to rearrange in terms of y. So I start with x plus 4y equals 20. I'm going to move my x, so I've got that 4y is negative x plus 20. Divide everything by 4, so y is going to be negative 1/4 x plus 5. Once you've figured out your equation, again remember you need to identify the slope and the y-intercept. In this case my slope is a negative 1/4 and my intercept is the point 0, 5. So let's go ahead and take a look at the slope. We can do this slope in two ways. Okay, so we can look at the first way. So my slope is going to be a negative 1/4. So when we're talking about this numerator here, we would be talking about going down 1, and then we would be going positive right 4. Now the other way that we could look at it would be that if my slope was positive 1 over a negative 4. In looking at it in this way, in my top, we would be going up 1, and then we would be going negative, which is left 4. Either way, you would end up at the same place. So let's see what that means. I'm going to start off at my intercept, 0, 5. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so that's right here. If I start with way number 1, so let's go ahead, call that my little yellow way. So that says I have to go down 1, so I'm going to go down 1 to that point, and then I'm going to go positive 4. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. So in doing that, that means my point would be right there. Well, what happens if I had gone my second way? So we'll call that the purple. So the second way said that I was going to go up 1, so I would go up 1 to right there, and then I would go negative 4. So this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, which would be right here. Now the way that I know that I graphed those 2 points correctly is if I put my ruler down, my ruler should line up with all 3 points. And if you look at it, and we draw our little line, my line crosses through all 3 points. So it does not matter how or which way you view your slope, as long as if your slope is negative, either the rise or the run is negative, not both. Okay. Alright. So here in these 2 examples, it says to graph the linear equation and then determine if the slope and the y-intercept only if they exist. So first and foremost, I have 2x equals negative 7. I need to get x by itself, so x equals negative 7 halves. Now, notice here something very important about this problem. This is an x equals problem. This means we have a vertical line. A vertical line also means that we have my slope being undefined, which we can also classify as UND. The other thing it means is that our b does not exist. So how do we graph this? Well, we have to graph the point -7/2, 0. So 7/2 is essentially the same as 3.5. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3.5. So that is this point here. And then it is a vertical line. So you'll just go ahead and draw yourself as close to a vertical line as you can. Thus, graphing your coordinate point. Now remember, this is that special case. Your special case of your vertical line case. Let's take a look at this one. Again, I need to get y by itself. So 5y minus 15 equals 0. Move the 15 over. 5y equals 15. Divide by 5. So y equals 3. Now notice in this line I don't have any x's at all. So again, this is also a very special case in that this is my horizontal line. This horizontal line means that my slope is 0, and it means my y-intercept occurs at the point 0, 3. So we're going to go up to 3, 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to go ahead and draw ourselves a horizontal line cutting through that point. And those are how your special cases would work. Alright, so that, in a nutshell, is everything that you would need to know about the basics and the beginnings of graphing equations, especially linear equations, using only the slope and the y-intercept, which stems from the slope-intercept form. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, remember to keep smiling, have fun with your math, and I'll see you next time.